Welcome to Tuesday Talks. We realize that life is hard. We all have questions that we wouldn't even think about asking out loud. The comforting thing is, you're not alone. We're all asking them. That's what this podcast is for. Each week, we're going to talk about hard questions and painful points in life. We won't shy away from anything. If you've thought it, we're going to talk about it so you feel seen and understood. Join us for our conversation this week on Tuesday Talks.
What is up, everyone? Thank you for joining us for another episode of Tuesday Talks. I am Alec. I've got Ben, and we've got another new face this week, Miss Joy Brown. Joy, how are you doing?
I'm doing so great.
Joy, what do you do here?
I am the adult ministry assistant, so I'm half on group's team, and I'm half Julie Woodruff's manager.
Nice, Julie.
Manager.
Shout out to Julie. She's going to be on soon. Talked with her. Can't wait to have her on. But
She's the greatest.
she is the greatest.
She really is.
But that's cool, Julie. What got you here to Long Hollow? I called you Julie, but you're Joy. I'm
That's
just
okay.
going to see myself out.
So my husband and I traveled the country for the past 2 years for his job. He was doing magic and talking to high schoolers,
Nice.
and we love the Nashville area. So
Nice.
we moved here knowing no one, so friendship. Community was hard to find.
Right.
We didn't know anyone, didn't have any jobs, and someone told us, you should go visit Long Hollow.
Nice.
And we did, and here we are.
Wow.
So what was that process like? How long was it until you found kind of the community that you have now?
Yeah, it was a while. I think I was waiting for community to come to me because I had never had to go find community or find friends because I had never been in a new place. So
Right.
Yeah.
it took as long as I wanted it to.
Nice.
Honestly, and I learned a lot that you have to just go embrace the awkward
Yeah.
and ask people over. If you didn't like them, don't ask them again. And I just had to go out. We both had to go out and find friends.
Gotcha. Cool. That's cool. Well, speaking of friends, today we're talking about how to be a godly friend and what does that look like, and how can you help your friends be closer to Jesus and all of those good things. And this question was sent in by a student. So if you have questions that you want us to answer, you can text Tuesday to 98173, and we will answer questions just like this one, where we'll hop in the room and we'll talk about it. But before we do that, almost forgot, Joy, like we ask every new guest, 3 things. You don't have to bring physical things, but what are 3 items that would encompass you as a person?
A candle.
A candle.
I'm deep.
Okay.
And I like to just sit in conversations.
Right.
Deep conversations mean a lot to me. And when you asked me that question, I thought of a candle.
Nice.
Just sits in the room, feels it out.
Nice. I like
Okay.
it.
Very
And
cool.
a basketball. I
Basketball.
played basketball in high school and in college. So I love sports.
Yeah.
Sports definitely shaped me. And probably my journal, because I love to write. And sometimes I think better on paper than I do
Nice.
talking out loud. So those 3 things: a journal, a candle, and a basketball.
Well,
What was the highest scoring game of your career?
32 points for my 1,000-point game.
Oh, to reach 1,000 points, you dropped 32.
Yeah,
Certified
Whoa.
bucket right here.
wow.
Was that in high school or college?
that was in high school.
That's still impressive.
But-
That's wild.
I love sports ball.
Sports ball. I
Sports
could
ball?
have. Didn't you play soccer?
I did play a little bit of soccer.
It just cracks me up when you're like sports ball. I don't know sports. I'm like, you played a sport.
But here's the thing. So my coach lovingly put me as forward for like my whole senior year, just so I could get a goal in my high school career. And
A goal,
A goal.
singular.
Yeah. No, I never scored a goal. And I was a freaking forward.
It's okay. You were the decoy. Everyone thought.
Hey.
You were. That's what I like in the rec league I played in.
Yeah.
On corner kicks, I just ran up there because I'm 6'6", so everyone's like, cover him. It's like, but you're leaving the 3 college players over there unattended, and they can score. So, but anyways, Ben, Joy, how can I be a godly friend? How can I help my friends grow closer to Jesus. I don't know what to do. I feel like I hear a lot of things. So what should I do? Where do I start?
Well, the first thing I think of when I think of a godly friend is the verse in James. Maybe y'all can tell me the reference. But the one that says, be slow to speak, quick to hear, and slow to get angry. Mm-hmm. And the closest friends I have that I would consider godly friends are slow to speak. They're good listeners. Mm-hmm. They're slow to get angry. And
my bad.
What was the other thing? Quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Yeah. So I think that just in one little verse, to me, encompasses what a godly friend is.
Yeah, that's James 1:19.
Yes. Thank you.
There you go.
Sick.
Quick Google.
Now we know. I don't know. I think it's easy for us to mix up godly friend with good friend, because I've got good friends who don't necessarily walk with the Lord or spur me on in any kind of way spiritually, and I would consider them a good friend that I could call or whatever, but don't necessarily know the Lord or walk with the Lord. Then a godly friend, I think, is this whole other category of good friend, faithful, plus this like idea of spurring them on, or the kind of person that's going to pray for you or carry you through something really difficult. So I think there's two types of friends. The godly one, though, I think has a whole different like set of things that like marks they would have to meet in order to be considered a godly friend. Right. And so, but I think that's also that's good, because that's a challenge to me personally too. Is like I want to be a good friend and a godly friend, right? Not just be this like, because like what good is it if I'm a friend that someone can call, but I'm not pointing them towards the things that matter.
Right.
So there's a person in my life ever since high school that will call me all the time for especially when things are like really intense in their life. Love this person dearly. And literally they've called me at like 4 a.m. before because they were in just a crazy situation, and it was that kind of thing. And so the way that I can be a good friend and a godly friend is good friend picks up the call. Like any good friend, I think, would pick up the call. But the next one is, hey, I'm going to pray you through this, or hey, I'm going to give you godly counsel through this, not just like, hey, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, godly friend, I think, comes with a whole another like expectation, a deeper level of that friendship.
Yeah. So where is that divide? Like you said, answering the phone makes you a good friend. Praying for them makes you a godly friend. Like, are you able to be a godly friend to believers and non-believers, or like how does that work?
I think so, as long as, like you said, it's being there for someone, but then leading them to truth. And you can do that with a non-believer or your Christian friends. You can always lead someone to truth or show them what truth looks like just in how you act as well.
Well, I think there's different situations too. So like there's like some people might just be turned off by the fact that you're that like hyper spiritual. They'll think you're hyper spiritual or whatever. And so but then I've had people in my life that were not close with the Lord or didn't even know the Lord and just know me as that like religious Jesus freak kind of guy. And but then when something goes wrong or they think like they need the idea of prayer, that's when they come to me, or like would need someone like me. And so it could be a turnoff to some people, but if you're faithful and you're the real deal and you're consistent with being that person, they might just be the person that you might just be the person that they call when they really need something, which would open a whole new door,
right?
To share your faith with them, or for them to see Jesus in a new way.
Right. So what does it look like if, I have a friend, like we're both believers. Let's, look at from that. I have a believer friend and, we're just doing life together. We call each other. we're kind of we're at that spot where we call each other at 2 a.m. if we need it, like, and we know the other will pick up and things like that. And so how do I feel like I'm a good friend, but I feel like I'm a godly friend, but if we're both just kind of believers on our own, are we being godly friends or are we being good friends to each other? Is there a sense of accountability that has to come with being a godly friend, or can you be a godly friend without necessarily inciting conflict or rocking the boat or things like that? Because I feel like I hear that a lot of, I need accountability, I need my community to keep me focused and all these things. Is that like a requirement for being a godly friend, or where's that line, and that difference?
I think accountability looks different for different people, because I remember being in high school and hearing, you need accountability, and I felt so much pressure to have that, but I wasn't told exactly what it looked like. I just thought, this person needs to text me, once a week and say, how's your time with God this week, or how's your prayer life, or are you struggling with something? And that just I couldn't find that consistent person to do that. And I think accountability can look like just having a conversation, maybe not planned, but that friend who it's an understanding of, hey, you can call me out if I'm doing something wrong, or if you think I'm lacking in something, and I will choose to respond correctly.
Yeah. Well, I love that, because my mind goes to, if this conversation is about being a godly friend, I think first it goes to the pursuit of being godly. So if it's two people that are trying to be godly friends to each other, I think it implies that both people are trying to just be more like God, namely Christ. So if the pursuit is knowing Christ more and being more and more like him, then I think this accountability piece might just be a byproduct of just being Christ to each other. Because the more you're like Christ, and the more you're pursuing Christ, and another person who is a close friend of yours is also doing that, then it becomes this thing of like, I'm there for you, because it's what Christ would do. And if we're both trying to be like him, if I see something in your life that doesn't quite belong, or I know you're struggling with this sin, or there's this attitude that's kind of come over you, the loving thing to do would be to talk to them about that, or to come alongside them more lovingly, call them out when they need to be. But I think it's also got to come with a lot of grace and a lot of love, and I like what you said. Slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to anger. Like, I think those are all byproducts of knowing Christ and pursuing him. So I think accountability should come naturally out of two people that are pursuing Christ.
Gotcha. So what about my friends that aren't believers? Is that just, praying for them, telling them I'm praying for them? Do I constantly have to share the gospel with them? Like, how do I be a godly friend to someone that doesn't care about God?
I would say this is tricky ground, because if you're consistent in saying, hey, I have given my life to Jesus, like my goal in life is to walk in step with Jesus and to be more like Jesus, you're quickly going to get this label, that Jesus freak religious label. And I think the best thing that you can do for an unbelieving friend, or in an unbelieving world for that matter, is to genuinely pray prayers like, Lord, make me more like you. Yeah. Like in every conversation with this person, in every interaction at school, whenever I'm alone, when it really matters, like, make me more like you, so that when the day of challenge comes, or the day of them questioning if you're the real deal or not, there's never a doubt in their mind that you're the real deal.
Right.
That's when I think proving character will lead to bigger and better conversations with an unbelieving world.
Yeah.
True. And I think that goes to just being there for your unbelieving friends, being there in a Christ-like spirit and attitude. And if you're walking in the Spirit, I think they're going to see you're different. And while you were talking about that, I thought of my husband, Mark, works at the House of Cards downtown Nashville. He's
Sick.
a full-time magician. He's super cool, a lot cooler than me. But his environment that he works in is definitely not, a church environment.
Right.
And he tries to lead a lifestyle and an example of just following Christ. He's consistent. He doesn't put it out there like, hey, can you not do this around me? Or
Right.
can you not act like this because this isn't right? But in his time being there, because he is different and because he does, I think, shine his light, then people see that, you know what, Mark is going to be there for me. So
Right.
that some magicians are going to say, hey, Mark, can you help me out with this? Or I have a question about this. What do you think?
Right. And so do you have to like know answers? Because I feel like there's just a lot of like, with being a godly friend, I feel like there's the pressure to almost be Jesus for both believers and non-believing friends, to where like, I know I have at times felt like, man, if I have a friend that's going through something, I need to make sure I'm ready to go with the right scriptures, make sure I'm ready to go with the right words, make sure I'm ready to go with all of the right things. Otherwise, I personally will fail this friend as being that godly friend or that godly person that they're wanting me to be for them.
I do think it's a challenge. I do think, so if that's your thought of like, I need to know, I think you could boil that down to, I need to know what I believe and why I believe it. To where when those conversations come, you can. So we disagree on fill in the blank, and I take a biblical stance on this thing. I think you need to have a well thought out response of like why you believe what you believe, especially if you have a friend in your life that is different, believes differently than you. I think you do need to have a well thought out plan, but I think you can also take some of the pressure off of yourself, and you don't have to know every answer. Who does?
Right.
So I think the bottom line is, the aim should always just be to be more like Christ. Like it makes me think of this scripture. I found this the other day in Ephesians 3. It says, I'm going to start in verse 13. It says, until we all attain to the unity of faith and the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. Like that idea of like our goal should be like growing into more and more of who Jesus is. Like just like he grew into a full person.
Yeah.
Like our idea is to grow into the fullness of Christ. And I think if we make that our goal, a lot of cool stuff is just going to kind of flow. A lot of answers, a lot of godly responses are just going to flow out of that. Just a thought.
It's true. And I think it's okay. I think it's really important to know it's okay if you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And I think people respect authenticity when you say, you know what, I don't know how to answer this,
Right.
but I'm going to go look it up. I'm going to go get some counsel and I'll be back.
Yeah.
And I know I counseled at a camp for 4 summers, and I know when I was talking to people, they really respected that. But you have to follow through. And
Right.
a good friend is loyal and faithful, and they'll follow through on things like that. So just know, I also think it's important, like, don't try to make something up.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
definitely.
okay to admit, I'm not sure, but let me go check it out, and I'll come back.
That's so good.
Gotcha. So just as we kind of wrap up to kind of conclude thoughts is like, to be a godly friend, it doesn't sound like I have to do anything special if I'm walking in step with the Lord. Like I don't have to put on this show. I don't have to know everything, because ultimately if the Holy Spirit lives within me, then when it's time to be a godly friend, which in turn is also a good friend, like you can be being a godly friend is also being a good friend. But I don't have to feel a pressure of like, I need to check off these boxes to be a godly friend. Correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yep. I agree.
Do y'all have any other thoughts as we wrap up?
Man. I mean, it's such a big thought. I think we could keep going in this conversation for a while. yeah, I think if we just boil it down to a simple point of, man, like you said, walk by the Spirit. It says it in Galatians 5. I think a lot of stuff is going to come out of your life the more you just walk with Jesus. It says, I was thinking about this the other day in Galatians 5. It says in verse 16, but I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. And it gives a whole list of things that are examples of walking by the flesh. But then if you go down to verse 22, it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And it says, if we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit, not becoming conceited or provoking one another or envying one another. So I think this idea of walking with Jesus and the fruit of the Spirit, the thing I had to realize was like, the fruit of the Spirit is not this thing that's like a fruit basket that you just get like the moment you like follow Jesus.
Yeah.
It's stuff that grows out of you, like out of your life. Love, joy, peace, patience, all these things, they like, the more you walk with Jesus, the more that comes out. And these things are like the perfect setup to be a great friend. Yeah. Like if you are loving to your friend, if you have joy and you're that source of joy for people that don't have it, if you have peace and you're the person that can calm people down in situations that are really tense, if you have patience, like just hanging on when things are tough with your friend and being there for them through thick and thin, if you're kind, if you're just good, if you're a good person to be around, if you're faithful, like you're consistent in what you believe and how you are around them, gentle, you have self-control, you're not just indulging in everything that comes your way. All these things are a great start for being a good friend. And so, and the way it says to do this is just walk in step with the Spirit. And so, you want to be a good friend, start there. That's my thoughts.
Well, it was good.
Walk in the Spirit. I like it.
I'm going to just press the random button.
Tuesday Talks! Tuesday Talks!
Yeah. Who is that?
It's a setup team.
That's awesome.
They've got like 2 other pages in here. This one.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Wow.
That's great.
Shout out to SpongeBob.
Shout out to SpongeBob and The Office. Both have been referenced here today. Well, The Office was before we started recording. Not official recommendations for either. Parents don't come after us. So anyways, well, Joy, Ben, thank you so much for being on. Thank you guys for listening. As I said earlier, if you have questions that you want sent in and you want us to tackle, just text Tuesday to 98173. And you'll get a form without your name on it for you to be able to send in questions. We want to get them, we want to answer them, and we want to talk through them. So anyways, with that, Joy, Ben, thank you so much for being on, and we'll catch you guys next week. See ya.
See y'all.
See ya.